Hey, before we get started, well, never mind, we're on YouTube. Go ahead.
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. Are you sure one of you folks don't want to run for mayor so we can get to 11?
Well, we might as well make it an even dozen, haven't we?
All right, good. Let's get two.
All right. Whoever's got the stick, it's 2 o'clock. Let's go ahead and get started.
We're live.
All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Tuesday, October the 20th strategic planning meeting. I now call this meeting to order. And it looks like the first item up for discussion is our IDB appointments. I'm not sure. I'm assuming Councilman Smith, this must have come up last week during our 3:30 agenda, and it made its way onto our strategic planning meeting. Not sure who asked for it or what.
There was a desire for discussion, Mr. Chair, on this topic because we have one individual who wants to roll off and then 2 or 3 that are interested in re-upping their service. However, the way that since there's only 7 seats, the way that this was constructed originally is that you would have 3 council districts at a time get to make appointments.
Yeah.
So I think there's some question or concern over just reappointment in some cases when there may be council members in some of those other districts that have their own appointments they want to make. So rather than just continuing to go back and forth and not filling these seats, I figured we'd put it on strategic planning and come up with some kind of hopeful solution as to what we're gonna do. Because like I said, we've got 1 seat we know that's going to be open, and then 2 or 3 that could potentially be open or reappointed. So I'm assuming there will be some additional conversation and question over that, but that is why that I asked that it be put on the agenda to discuss today.
Okay. Councilman Ledford, I see your hand.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The way we left it last week, I'm still a little fuzzy on the process. We had talked about several different things, and I was just kind of curious as to when our deadlines are, how we're going to choose. I'm still not real clear on this process. We had discussed an alternate process, and I'm glad this is on the agenda so we could talk about it. But just FYI, I'm still a little fuzzy on how we're doing this process. Thank you.
Mr. Attorney?
Yes, sir.
I believe it was in the previous council that we voted and decided on the rotating, I guess, trio or of council districts that make appointments. One thing I guess that we need to clarify as to what order when there's more than 1 member up for appointment or reappointment, and what order do you go in? I'm not sure that we ever established that last time. And refresh my memory, please. Is this IDB is set up 7 members under charter, or is that under ordinance?
No, sir, it's neither. It is under state law. There is a specific statute here in Tennessee that creates the Industrial Development Board, and it is a 7-member board, at least since it was established back in the, I guess, late 60s at that point in time for Chattanooga. There has been 1 change to its charter in the mid 80s here. It has always been a 7-member body of that group. There had been some changes in the method of selection of members and whether it should be a recommendation from the Chamber of Commerce at one point in time. That was not followed by the council. Most recently, the council decided they wanted to make their appointments directly, and since it was a 7-member board, y'all developed a process of voting in groups of 3 for the board member positions that were open. Currently, right now, the district for Mr. Ray Atkins' appointment here expires on October the 7th of 2020. Mr. Jimmy Rogers expires on October the 7th. Mr. Alan Lebowitz expires on October the 7th. And it looks like Miss Jolena Butler's expires on October the 7th. The other members of the board are still ongoing right now because they've been re-upped as of 2018 for continuing 6-year terms. The statute specifically requires for a 6-year term of these members.
Okay, so if I heard you right, there are four members on the board currently that are up for their term is up. I'll just put it that way. Is that
Yes.
correct? Four members?
Yes, sir. And it's not a good thing usually to have all 4 of them come up at the same time. That's one problem insofar as it should be having periods where you have people that have continuing knowledge on the group. And it's better if they come up maybe 2 years apart if you can get it to that point.
Do we know if any one of the 4 are asking not to be reappointed?
To my knowledge, Mr. Lebovitz, I don't believe is requested to be reappointed. The rest of the folks have requested that they be reappointed.
Okay. Okay, so is this and I don't remember, is this, I guess, appointments that we need to have brought to the floor for a vote? Is this the 3 districts would make a recommendation and then a vote of the body, or this is just 3 members appoint who they want?
Well, that is up to the council how you conduct your election. I believe that was the way you did it most recently in 2018.
Okay. Councilman Gilbert, I see your hand, sir.
Yeah, I was just curious that, like Phil just said, in 2018, we had 2 appointments, and I think one was named Miller and the other one, I guess it was Butler. Can't remember for sure, but anyway.
Yes.
It appeared on the agenda. Phil, how did that get on the agenda? We didn't go through a process like we are talking about now. So I'm curious, how did that get on the agenda in 2018 for us to vote on? We did vote on them 2 people.
As I remember, there was, I guess, an appointment list that was established, at least in your minutes, from 2014. There was an election process, and Nicole at least provided the copies of the minutes that occurred back in 2014. And then there was a most recent one in 2018. I believe she provided y'all with copies of the minutes for that process. And there was an IDB board's selection process that was adopted in September of 2014 that apparently provided the selection method to be districts to be divided into groups A, B, and C, which A would be 1 through 3, B would be 4 through 6, and C would be 7 through 9. And then the clerk would draw at random an A, B, or C to allow y'all to make an appointment. And then from there, there would be, I guess, an election by the entire council of how that would work.
Yeah, that's
That
not
would be the
question.
vetting process.
That's not the question I'm asking. Not the process. The process sounds great, what you just said. I'm saying in
Yes, sir.
2018, we did not use that process.
I am not sure on
It
that
was-
end.
it
I'd have to look.
it appeared on the agenda, because if we did use the process, then 1, 2, and 3 are the ones that had to put that on there, at least one of them.
Okay, sir.
Let me ask a question. What 3 council districts are up first for an appointment? Are you saying, is it now 4, 5, and 6? They make the first appointment, Phil? Is that what I was understanding, or?
It is just up to this body on that end of it to make your decision about where you're going. We've not had 3 at one point before
Yeah,
here
no,
coming up. Yeah.
So we drew out of a hat, and that started the process. Now, it was
Yes.
my understanding, or my memory, if my memory serves me correctly, once we started, let's just say A went first, B would go next, C would go, then A, then B, then C. I don't know which set of districts are next. Nicole, do you have, if we made some appointments in 2018, which set of districts made the appointment?
Well, I just going through the minutes, it seemed like it would be Districts 4, 5, and 6 that would make the next appointment.
Okay. All right, so 4, 5, and 6 would make make the very next appointment, and then it would be up to 7, 8, and 9, and then roll back to 1, 2, and 3, right? So I guess in a special session or strategic planning, of course, it sounds like to me some of these appointments have already expired.
The statute also says that they can continue in office until their successor is appointed. So that gives you a little help in that regard.
Okay. All right. So and so let me make this suggestion, and there's at least 4 appointments that need to be made. Maybe at our next strategic planning, we spend in whatever time is needed for each of the groupings to make an appointment. Councilman Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last week I brought up, and I believe our attorney stated that the number does not have to be 7, even though it's always been 7. So we obviously have to solve this problem and get people either reappointed or appointed to serve on the 7. But I would like to see in the medium term, after we finish that process, I personally would like to see us go to 9, and every council person would have an appointee on the district. Now, what that means to District 2, even though Mr. Lebovitz is from District 2, Althea Jones is also. So I would not be part of, when we first went to 9, I would already have my representative, so I would not be appointing anyone. So Althea Jones would remain on the board. But I think it's more equitable, and seeing how we hadn't made any changes since a new form of government was formed in 1990 or 91, Phil?
90.
90, thank you. And so I would like to see us take care of this immediate situation and move it to 9 people, and each person that doesn't have someone already serving would get an appointment. And I made that suggestion last week.
Oh, okay.
And I echoed those sentiments.
Oh, okay. Let me just ask this question. Councilman Mitchell, I'm surprised that suggestion didn't come up back in 2014 when we came up with this process. So my question to Phil is, can we have 9 members on the IDB board?
You would have to file an amended charter to allow up to 9 members. Right now, your charter just says 7 members. So you'd have to have that done, but the statute authorizes it because it says no less than 7 members in the statute.
So that goes back to my original question. The charter does speak to 7 members.
The charter of the Industrial Development Board, not the city's charter. The city does not have
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a charter that has to be filed by a nonprofit corporation with the Secretary of State, and that charter would have to be amended by the IDB.
Okay, and that can be done through resolution of the city council, or how?
Well, it would be done by an amendment to the charter. If y'all made that request, we could do that and at least make sure that the IDB is agreeing with that. And then
okay,
fine.
Okay. Councilman Gilbert.
Well, I'm still going back to the same question Phil had already answered. Why don't we just do it the same way we did in 2018? We just put all 3 people up, and we vote them up and vote them down. And then we pick up on a new person that's no longer want to be there at all. Because we had this process and we didn't discuss reappointments, and we did already appointed 2 people already in 2018. We didn't do it through a process. So why don't we do the same process we did in 2018 and put all 3 on there? You vote them up, you vote them down, and then go through the process of this new person.
Councilman, I'm good with that if the majority of the council is.
I'm okay.
Councilman Ledford.
My question, thank you, Chairman. My question was for Phil. Phil, you said this was created through state law, so we're okay to change it though at our level.
You're okay, provided that the Industrial Development Board also agrees to go up to 9 members. I don't think they'd have any objection.
Okay, next question would be for consideration, and I did agree with Councilman Mitchell on the representation of the districts since the new form of government. Echoed that last week, but would this new appointment then go for the full 6-year term? So meaning that the next time the appointments would be 6 years from now for some districts?
Unless they're filling an expired term or an unexpired term of a member, that's what it's supposed to be. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Chairman.
Okay, so let me put it to the council this way. Is there any objection from the council in placing 3 of the 4 members that want to be reappointed on the agenda for a vote? Do I have any objection to doing that? If not, I'm sorry. So I'm not hearing Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, is there any, since 4, 5, and 6, I guess that's who's appointed, have anybody reached out to see if anybody else want to serve on the board? I mean, they've already served 6 years, and to reappoint them to additional 6 years, I mean, I think other people should at least have the opportunity to serve if they want to. I mean, I get it. They're showing up. They're doing a good job, per se, based on the email. But I mean, if other people are interested, I would like to see their resumes.
Well, there will be 1 open slot to be filled.
Mhm.
And we could go through that process through that slot. So at this point, I'm hearing 1 objection to not placing these 3 individuals on. Do we have any other objections? Councilman Ledford?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did, from District 4, have someone that I felt would be extremely valuable to this. And this may be a question for Nicole. Nicole, can you get me or you actually sent out that list? It's in our packet today, correct?
Yes.
I personally haven't spoken to the appointee, or I have 2, I think, from District 4. I wouldn't mind them actually reaching out or trying to at least have a conversation with them to see if they are, what the mindset is for serving. If it's like, yeah, I'll do it, or, if you have somebody, that's okay too. So I think that would be important to actually hear from them if that's possible. I'll do that on my part this week. But I did have somebody from District 4 that I think would be extremely valuable and is willing to serve and very energetic.
Councilman Mitchell?
Well, in the absence of Councilperson Burrs, I'll ask a process question. 4 people are up for renewing, or a new 6 or 4 seats on the board are up for 6 years. And I see on here on the list that we have 2 that will expire in 2024, 1 that will expire in 2022, but then 4 in 2026. And I'm wondering, while we're playing around a little bit, Mr. Attorney, could we stagger at least one of those to where they don't get the full 6 years, and we can maybe line it up for 2022 or something like that, to where we have a couple 22, a couple 24, and then 3. But I mean, if the council decides they want to go to 9, that kind of will eventually take care of that process. But I'm just wondering if we want to go all 4 while we're still at 7, if we want to go all 4 to 2026.
I was looking at your list in here. It looks like Ms. Butler began her term in 2016. She's good through 2020 right now, so she's only been on there for 4 years right now. She was filling the unexpired term of another member on there. It's possible that you could at least extend for 2 more years on there to give her 6 years, and then decide what you wanted to do beyond that. But the rest of the folks, it looks like, have already had a 6-year term, however you choose to do it. But that's one option. If you want to, at least Mr. Ireland is your chair, and he's up in 2022. And then the ones that were appointed most recently in 2018 or 2024. So if you go to 9 members, I think you solve many of those problems, but that's one option.
Thank you.
Okay, council. I really would like to reach a decision on a process going forward. I'm hearing a couple of council members seem to want to go through the process of the groupings, making nominations. It seemed like the majority, and Councilman Gilbert made the suggestion of voting on the 3 that would like to return, at least to get things moving. Personally, I like that approach. It seems to take care of a situation, and we can get moving on. Councilman Vice Chair Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with that, except in the case of District 4, you have 2 representatives currently.
Correct.
And if we reappoint one of those, that's for 6 years. If we do request that there is a charter change to take us up to 9 members, you're going to have a council member without a representative on the board, because you're going to have 2 people representing 4 for at least 4 years after that.
Okay.
So if the council desires to increase or to request that we begin looking at extending this to 9 members, I would just caution that we need to make sure that there are not more than 1 member per district at this point, so that when it does extend to 9 members, the 2 that aren't represented do have an opportunity to get representation within their district.
Okay, so I guess what we need to do is determine, of the 4 that are up, we know 1 is not seeking reappointment. What the district numbers of, I know Ray Adkins is District 1. Jimmy Rogers, does anybody know what district?
District 4.
4.
Yes.
Okay.
And
of course,
Mr. Ireland.
And that's your chair and vice chair currently of the IDB.
Oh, he's current. Okay, I got you. I see. And then who was the 4th member, Mr. Attorney, that you spoke of? That was the very last person that you said.
Ms. Butler is District 7 on there, and she is serving the remainder of Mr. Rump's term that was on there before. And then
Okay.
it looks like Ray Atkins is serving the remainder of Stephanie Crow's term as well on here. So those are 2 serving remainders. That may be why we got off a little bit.
Okay. Councilman Byrd.
Thank you, Chair. We keep going around the bend. I don't know who all is for the 9 members. I just want to echo, I'm 100% in with each council person having a member on the board. And how long do we have to look for another person, or to look for someone to fill that seat? You said to get us out of a situation that we're in, Chair. When would we have to have someone that will be willing to fill those seats from our districts?
Well, actually, and the attorney said that each person could continue to serve until they're replaced.
Okay.
So it looks as though maybe we only really need to replace 1 person at this time. 1 is wanting to roll off, I think, and so then then going back to well, the hands just went up. We could allow everyone that wants to continue serving to continue serving until we went to a 9-member board and replace just the 1. That answer your question, Councilman?
It does. And we have, you started going through the list of what districts are missing a representative at this point? Do we know?
6, 8, 9.
6, 8, and 9?
And 5.
And
Oh,
5.
and 5.
Okay.
And 5? Okay.
6, 8, 9, and 5. Okay.
You good?
I'm good.
Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to kind of circle back to Vice Chairman Smith's comments. The chairman, I believe, is Mr. Ireland, and his term, if you said correctly, Phil, was up in 2022.
22. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
22.
If this helps this council at all, I would be supportive in waiting till 20 and 22. If I am honored to be elected again to serve, to make that appointment at that time, if that helps this council come to a decision.
Okay. Councilwoman Coonrod?
Thank you, Chair. So can we get started on that, the ordinance to change it to from 7 to 9, like as soon as possible? Because looking at the districts that are represented, and a lot of times what comes before the IDB board is areas like District 9, District 8, District 7, pretty much. And we don't have anybody representing our district when it comes to those areas of, things that's happening in those areas. And I just don't think that's a fair representation for somebody else in another district to make a decision about what needs to happen in my district. I would like the opportunity to submit a resume from somebody in my district that we can look at to, perhaps serve, because like Mitchell stated before, we see here, like you got districts that's got multiple people serving, and we can easily go ahead and replace them. I just don't see that it to be very justifiable for us to just say, well, because we're in a rush, we're just going to go ahead and reappoint these people to serve, when we can go ahead and take care of the matter and expanding from 7 to 9, and then give everybody the opportunity to have somebody serve for their district. And the ones here can serve until we make those changes.
Yes,
But they have with the understanding to them that they may or may not be rolling on or staying,
Yeah, that's the reason I said there's really only one appointment that we would absolutely need to make, I think, at this time, and until we got to the 9 members. Councilman Gilbert and then Councilman Mitchell.
Chair, do we need to, if we go the route with Mr. Allen replacing him, do we need to change the years on this one so that it will be staggered, or what is your thoughts?
I would need, Mr. Attorney, I would like to look at the individual serving and what the years, when each person term expires.
Yes, sir.
I think we would need to look at that, Councilman, to make a determination. It does seem like obviously four of the currently 7 roll off at one time. So maybe we need to stagger this particular one. Councilman Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm all for doing anything the council wants to do, except I think Mr. Lebovitz is done.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish to thank him for his service, but I would not want to hold up that appointment of that one. It can come from a district that doesn't have representation, because like I said earlier, District 2 has more representation, but I'd like to let him go. So
let me make this suggestion. Let me throw this out there to be batted around. We could, for this one appointment, use the process that is in place and turn to districts 4, 5, and 6, which, from what I'm understanding, District 6 and 5 are not represented. Districts 4, 5, and 6 could get together and make a recommendation for the entire body to be voted on. That would take care of this one seat. In the meantime, Mr. Attorney, we could begin working on expanding the IDB to a 9-member board so that each council person could have a representative.
Yes, sir.
Now, questions or comments about the suggestion that I just made? Councilman Gilbert, see your old hand. Councilman Mitchell, is that an old hand?
Well, it is an old hand, but you don't show much jet lag by that suggestion, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I got plenty of rest last night, sir. Thank you.
Good.
Okay, so let's, at our next strategic planning, allow districts 4, 5, and 6. And my suggestion would be to each of these district council representatives to be submitting resumes of someone that you would like to appoint, and let's follow the process that we have in place currently for replacing Mr. Lebowitz through districts 4, 5, and 6. And then in the meantime, hopefully by our next strategic planning, Mr. Attorney, you can have us a process in place that we could go to a 9-member board, or what that process would look like.
Yes, sir. And the Industrial Development Board next meets in its meeting on November the 3rd. I'd like to bring that up with them and just make sure on their end of it that since it is a separate board, they're agreeing to have 9 members. I don't think there'll be any problem, but I wanted to make sure we had their permission since it is a separate corporation under state law.
So they meet on the same day that we meet then?
Yes, sir.
You said November 3rd?
I want to say that. Let me make sure. It may be the 2nd here because it may be a Monday. Let me
If it was the 2nd, it would actually be better. We would have an answer by that Tuesday on our strategic planning.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Let me look right here on my calendar. I know it was the first week in November. Yeah, it's actually on November the 2nd.
Okay.
Monday.
Okay. All right, that'll work. If you will check with them about going to a 9-member board, then we will know by that Tuesday strategic planning a more viable path forward. Councilman Ledford?
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to say, since the appointment is going to be made by 4, 5, and 6, District 4 already has 2 representatives, so I will be obviously leaning very heavily on 5 and 6.
Okay, very well. Councilman Gilbert?
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you want us to go ahead and start doing the process of 5 and 6 since we don't have representation on this thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would say, and I'll make sure Councilwoman Burrs is aware. Like I say, if you and Councilman Gilbert, if you and Councilwoman Burrs would begin submitting some resumes to the board and for your group to look at, then at our next strategic planning, we'll go through that process of coming up with a nomination to replace Alan Lebowitz. Is everybody good with that?
Sir.
All right, sounds like a path forward. Thank you, council. At this time, going into other business, we do have a couple of new staff members that we want to introduce to you this afternoon. Miss Lydia, would you bring in our chief of staff, please, for him to make those introductions? Oh, you're bringing in Mara, okay?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Carrie?
Carrie Hayes, or Miss Sullivan, did you want to introduce them, or was that Mr. Hayes's job?
We're interchangeable, so. Yeah.
Are you saying one's just as good as the other?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Pretty much.
All right.
That's scary.
You can take it how you want.
You might be better, more.
Go ahead, Miss Sullivan.
All right, thanks. It is my honor to introduce to you 2 fantastic new staff members who are joining our team. Number 1 is, in no particular order, is Miss Mara Knowles. Notice the name.
Mm-hmm.
It's spelled wrong though, right?
It is spelled differently. Okay. No, I'm very excited to be joined by another namesake. I've never had that before. Looking at your names across here, most of you, Demetrius and Erskine, probably don't have too many namesakes in meetings, but I never get to say, please welcome Miss Mara Knowles, who will be joining us in the Molly Cooper, Amy Loudermilk job as constituent representative. And She'll be working with you all on a daily, hourly, weekly basis. So I'd like to introduce Ms. Maura Knowles to you.
All right.
Hello.
Yeah.
It's so nice to meet you guys.
Good afternoon.
And other Mara asked me to introduce myself. I have a background in both advocacy and communications, and I'm super excited to join your team and help you reach out to constituents.
All right. I've already got a couple of hands up for some questions, so just leave your mic unmuted. Councilman Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mara, what would be best for you as you transition into this role? And maybe Mara Sullivan can help with this answer also. Do we just send things to you, or should we be copying someone along with you to help you with directions of what to do in this case or what to do in that case? How would you prefer that? Because I've already got about 3 or 4 things I'm waiting.
At this point, if you want to start by copying both Nicole and Jermaine as we get started, and then over time, I'm going to be developing a little more independence. But in this first couple of weeks, I'm going to be holding a lot of hands so I can get used to knowing who's who in what department.
Sounds perfect. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Ledford.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and welcome, Maura. Maura's already helped me, I think, maybe even twice today. So I appreciate you jumping in with both feet. You've got some pretty big shoes to fill, as you probably know. We've had some great folks in that role. Kind of along what Councilman Mitchell was alluding to on the process-wise. Sometimes we may want to try to get the information, Maura, and maybe handle that ourselves. So if you would, if I can only speak for myself in District 4. If you would think to remind me or ask me, would you want me to follow up, or if you want you to follow up, that way it might help with a certain situation, and then or give us an opportunity to get back with our constituents. But I really appreciate what you've done for us already, and today you've been very helpful with me on a couple of items. So thank you and welcome.
I'd be delighted to do that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. Welcome, Maura. Of course, I've already heard so much about you. I'm just glad to see a smiling, helpful face. Welcome.
Thank you, Councilwoman. You're my representative, so.
Ah.
Thank you.
Now, you can't be showing bias towards one council person.
You mean no
Sure she
porta potties?
can. Yes, she
No,
can.
no.
Next door
Yes, she
neighboring.
can.
All right, I see no other hands. Ms. Knowles, welcome aboard.
Thank you
We're
so much.
certainly happy to see you. All right, Ms. Sullivan.
Thank you, sir.
Who
Thank
do you have
Maura.
up next?
Next is Miss Regina Mcdevitt. Miss Regina Mcdevitt is joining us as the director of the Family Justice Center. She comes to us with over 20 years of experience in the domestic violence field right here in Chattanooga. So we are just so honored to have her join us, and really, really excited to welcome her as part of our outreach family here in the city. And I see Regina is logging in there. Regina, if you can hear me, if you could get your camera.
There we go.
There's Regina.
Hi, good afternoon. So thank you guys. I am so excited to be here. As Maura said, I've been in the community working with victims for over 20 years, and I am really thrilled to be part of this process on a different side, and am looking forward to the next steps for our Family Justice Center.
All right, very well. Any questions or comments for Ms. Mcdevitt? Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say welcome. I look forward to coming to the CPIC meetings that we have. Well, we haven't had them during COVID, but look forward to getting back. And I'm just so excited for your position there and how important the Family Justice Center is to our city, and wish you the most success.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Coonrod.
Welcome. And I'm glad that they selected someone just as passionate as you are to continue the work that's been done with the Family Justice Center, because it's a very important issue. in Chattanooga. Now, I wasn't prepared to see that bright red hair, but it looks good. It looks good. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. McDevitt, welcome aboard. We're certainly glad to have you with us and looking forward to the good work that you'll be doing.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. All right,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Lydia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I don't think there's anything else from our guest. Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. All right. Okay, moving on. I'm going to pass up at this time the Gare and Racial Equity Training. Ms. Beverly is not with us today, and I think she was still trying to identify some dates for us. So I don't think there's really anything to discuss until she has some dates at this time. Councilman Gilbert, the cleaning contract for the building, you got anything further to say on that? Your mic is muted, sir.
You can take that off. I still don't have some of the questions I asked, but you can take it off the agenda.
Okay. Madam Clerk, let's go ahead and take that off then. All right, under pending legislative matters, our RTZ text amendment. I'm assuming that got on from last week as well. Councilman Ledford?
Chair, I believe that is on our agenda tonight, so I think that probably can be removed.
Okay. All right. Madam Chair, Madam Clerk, if you would remove that from our
Chair.
agenda as well. There's that jet lag showing up. Okay, under future legislation education, we have nothing. Board appointments, we have a couple in District 7, Board of Sign Appeals, Community Development Advisory, Office of Multicultural Affair, and of course, we have talked about the IDB. Any news from any of these districts that have appointments? Anything? Okay. All right. I'll tell you what, Council, the rest of the items will be covered either in committee or our agenda at 3:30. If there is nothing further that the council would like to bring up at this time, I would like to go into attorney-client privilege meeting for just a few minutes with a development that occurred this afternoon. So is there anything else that the council would like to discuss or look at before going into attorney-client privilege? Councilman Oglesby.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And you look really good for someone that has been traveled.
Sir,
I know you haven't had much rest.
It took me 19 hours to get home yesterday. So
God bless you. Yeah, I just have something briefly. Under Economic and Community Development Committee, we're going to have to reschedule the TPL presentation, if I could, to next week. They're not able to make it today, so they'll be prepared to make that presentation next week. So I'd like to reschedule it if it is the pleasure of you and the council to do so.
So we'll still be hearing from our CDBG award, though, correct?
Yeah, we will be.
Okay, so we'll still have,
and that's going to be a really great presentation.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So we'll still have our ECD meeting today, along with our HR then.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And you let me know when we need to reschedule that. We'll make it happen.
Okay.
All right. All right, very good. If there is nothing else now at this time, let's adjourn and then come back to attorney-client privilege. So Vice Chair, if you would take us out of this meeting and then